Hello there. My name is David Overholt. I work for DWD Technology Group in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I am the project manager and master developer. And I've been asked to create a short video on how to set up vendor-specific pricing in Sage 100, which will allow you to have default pricing brought into the purchase order. So that as you're entering a purchase order and creating one, Sage will look up and know based on which vendor you're purchasing from, what that vendor's default unit price is for a given item. So if you purchase items from multiple vendors and you'd like to have a way to set up default pricing in as a unit cost during the purchase order creation, Sage can do that out of the box. So I'm just going to walk through the steps. In my example, I'm going to be using the item in the Sage 100 ABC demo company. The item code is 1001-HON-H252LK. You'll see that on the screen in a minute, but I'll set that up for two different vendors using a couple different methods. I'll set up for vendor 01 Cont, C-O-N-T for Continental, and 01 United for the United merchandise. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and jump in here. First thing you need to do is go to Inventory Maintenance. Under the Inventory Management main module, I'm going to go to Item Maintenance. And I'll pick that item that I just mentioned, the 101-HON-H252LK. So the first thing you need to do is come up here to this More button, which gives us a lot of different options. I'm going to be going to the Vendors button. And this will already list any vendors that you've purchased an item from before. So if you're setting this up, you may already see all the vendors you need, but I purposely picked one that is on the list and one that is not yet. The 01 United is not listed here. To create the specific pricing, I just highlight the vendor that I want. Over here, there is a vendor pricing button. If I hold my mouse over it long enough, you see the vendor pricing topic pop up. So I'll just click on that. This brings in our vendor price level maintenance. It defaults in our vendor for us, defaults in the item that I want. It comes up with a default pricing method of cost discount percentage. When I'm done here, I will show you a screen that gives you a little more detail on what these three pricing methods can do. In my example, I'm going to go ahead and use a standard override cost. So my vendor has a flat price that he charges me for all items. And for this vendor, no matter how many I buy, I'm always going to say pay the same price for that item. So I'm going to set up this first one to be $34.99, no matter how many I purchase. So it's simply setting this up. It's got, like I said, it's got my vendor, my item code's already in there. Setting a standard cost, $34.99 is what I'll pay no matter how many of these I purchase. Notice that our standard cost in Sage is $35.75. That's a little higher than what I'd pay from this vendor. So go ahead and click accept on that. What this does is it clears out the item code. It saved it for me, but it cleared out the item code so that if I was going through and setting up, you know, say 15, 20, 30, 40 items, however many for the same vendor, I could just keep going here, pick my next item, set my pricing method, set my discount percent, hit accept, pick the next item, etc. I could just go through and do all my items from a single vendor this way. In this example, that's not what I'm planning to do. Now I want to do a different vendor. I'm going to go ahead and just close out of here, and I'm going to come into back to this screen and I wanted to set this one up for my United vendor, I can type in their vendor code if I know it, or I can just look it up from the list, United Computers. There they are. So now this line's highlighted. I'm going to go ahead and click on the vendor pricing button again. Again, it brought in my item, or my vendor and my item code. It already, well, actually, it already brought in standard costs. I thought I deleted this out earlier. I'll just delete it out just to show you. Cancel. There, that's what I wanted to see. So there's my item, and it, again, defaulted to cost discount %. I'm going to choose standard cost. Now this one I'm going to set up a few different price levels. Let's say from 1 to 100, this vendor will allow me to pay $36 per unit. Well, there we go. If I buy between 101 and 1,000 of these, I can get it for $35.75. And if I buy more than 1,000, so I'll just leave this at $99.99, I can actually get it for $34.75. Okay. So now I've put in both of those. Go ahead and hit accept. Again, this explained what this is designed for before. I could do more items from this vendor if I wanted. But for my example, I'm going to just go ahead and save that and accept it. And just as a quick example of how it works, or maybe to prove that it actually does what we say it'll do, go to purchase order, main, purchase order entry. I'm just going to create a new purchase order quickly for each of these vendors, and we'll go through some of the pricing. So container company, if I go to lines, I'll pick my item code, the H252LK, and I'm just going to say I ordered 100 of these. Notice that it brought in the $34.99 price, which is the only price set up for this vendor Container Corporation. I start another purchase order for 01 United Computers. I'm going to pick my same item code. Now, before I put any quantities in, it defaults in at $36 because from 1 to 100, our $36 cost was in there. But notice if I change it to 110, for example, now I'm over 100. It's $35.75. That's over 1,000. Over 1,000 comes in at $34.75. Now we know that works. We can see it working. You might want to know how, if I'm entering this PO, how do I know what my best value is if I'm purchasing these pricing units? Well, that can easily be seen up here. If I click on this little down arrow next to the drill in button or zoom button, I can come in here and go to vendor price level lookup, and it shows me that if I'm buying from this vendor, if I buy from 1 to 100, it's 36, 101 to 1,000, it's $35.75. So it basically shows me for this vendor what pricing there is. If you wanted to maybe see what the vendor pricing was for all vendors, you'd need to come in here and just go to item maintenance or item inquiry. Then you would need to go back, similar to what we did before, and go to the vendors button. You can see your two vendors. You could look up their specific pricing to make your purchase decision based on that as well. So I just clicked on that. I say I can get it for $34.99 from this vendor. Click on the lookup button, and I can see my pricing for this vendor. If I had 5 vendors, I could just check each one, see which one had the best price. Okay, that pretty much covers it. I told you I would show you the different pricing methods. This is from the Sage help files. If you want to see the different pricing methods, go ahead and save my changes here. If I come up to the Sage 100 main menu, go to Help, Help Topics. Simply click on Show and type in vendor pricing methods. And I could just list the topics. Shows me quite a few. If I come down here, this is where I already found this information, but the vendor price lookup is here, vendor price level maintenance. If I come in here and look at the fields and click on pricing method, this shows me all the information I need about Sage 100 vendor pricing. So pricing method, standard cost. You can take a screenshot of this if you like, or obviously you can go into Sage 100 help files and take a look at this yourself. Again, I want to thank you for your time. My name is David Overholt. I am with DWD Technology Group in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Our 800 number here is 800-232-8913. We are a full service Sage 100 reseller. Means we resell the product, we service it, we install it, we'll train you, and we also, of course, do full service support on the product as well. Appreciate your time.